Welcome to the Germinate Podcast, where agriculture, business, and innovation take root and thrive. I'm Joe Sampson, and with nearly 2 decades of experience in agricultural equipment and scaling businesses, I'm here to bring you actionable insights, inspiring stories, and strategic advice. Whether you're an industry veteran or just starting out, this podcast is your guide to cultivating ideas, expanding your knowledge, and growing your venture. So let's get started and germinate your path to success. All right, folks, welcome back to the Germinate Podcast. Hope everybody's doing good out there today. This is the power of a friendship. This next special guest that I have here, Brian Kreifels. Brian and I met through a mutual buddy of ours, Mr. Jason Nugent. Nugent and I go way back, college friends. So, heck, man, that's been 20 some odd years, 25 years, actually, a long time ago. But yeah, the love of Jason Nugent brought you and I together. So how you doing, Brian?
I'm good. And yes, we have to thank our friend Jason for that. I've known Jason for quite a long time now, thanks to kids, really. His kids are all the same age as mine, and our wives knew each other in college briefly. So it is kind of funny how the connections and networks bring us all together.
Right. And where I want to go with you, just so everybody knows your background, is this is going to be kind of a sales professional podcast. Yep. You and I are both sales professional. You're gonna be much more of a professional at sales than me, but we share a shared experience in agriculture and sales management and kind of C-suite vice president level stuff. So I guess I want to start. I heard something pretty interesting actually this morning. It made me think of you. This is weird, I know, but I was watching a little short clip of Dale Earnhardt Jr. I used to be a huge race car fan.
Yep.
I loved Earnhardt Jr. I loved Earnhardt too, but I kind of fell in love with Jr. He was interviewing some dude, and this guy, I think he was a motocross racer, and I couldn't tell you his name. I apologize. But more or less what he said was he got in a really bad accident racing. And then every race after that, he couldn't find confidence. He just, something in between the ears was gone. He couldn't put the full throttle down. He just couldn't figure it out. And I think as it relates, and Dale Jr. was one of those guys where he was a good race car driver, but he had some in between the ears issues in confidence. And I think it equates perfectly with sales. Oh, yeah. Sometimes it's a massive confidence game, and you have to have high confidence. You have to know you're going to win before you figure it out. And I don't know. That spoke to me, man. Tell me how you derive your confidence in doing what you do.
Wow. Pretty loaded question there.
Question.
I'll address kind of your story first there. What made you think of it? It's easy to get in a funk, especially in sales. And I think the parallel with sports and racing is appropriate. One of the things that I always look for in my sales team and myself is competitiveness. You got to have that drive, that want to win that sale, to win that bid. So we're all naturally competitive guys who want to win. And when you don't, which you're not going to win everything, it's tough, and you take it really hard, just like professional athletes and drivers do. When they don't win, it's tough. And then you start fighting that self-doubt, right? That starts to creep in. And that's where you really got to pull through. And that's really where strong sales management comes. And it doesn't even always have to be the sales management, but the peers and the network that you build within your company or yourself. And you start talking to people, but that absolutely happens. And that's where you really rely on good relationships and good network. I have a handful of key people that I like to use as sounding boards, talk through, what happened. We didn't win this. Was it something we did? And you have to keep that mentality of not getting self-doubt, but learning, right? Everything's a learning experience. And if it didn't go your way and you didn't win that one, what do I learn from it? Was it something that we could have done better? Was it just not the right situation? Sometimes things just don't work out because it wasn't the right fit. Was there something on the customer side that maybe we didn't see, that we didn't communicate the right value? And if you look at it more from an analytical standpoint and a desire to get better, then I think that typically helps keep you out of that funk, or maybe helps get you out of it, because sometimes there's no stopping getting into it.
Well, yeah, this story went on. I mean, that's a super intelligent answer. And this story goes on to say how he got out of his funk was he got a top 20 finish. And then he
Yep.
got a top 10 finish. And then he
Yep.
started finishing on the podium. And then it's like, okay, I can do this again. I can hammer down on the throttle again. So you're right, man. It's all about kind of building some of that momentum. And it might not be a home run. It's, in fact,
Yeah.
99.9% of the time, it's not going to be a home run. You've just got to hit a single.
Singles win baseball games.
Yeah, right. You got to make contact, try to leg one out, do something.
Yep.
And I think that's the funk a lot of sales professionals get themselves into is,
Yes.
oh, I got to hit the home run. It's like, no. Stop with the home
Yep.
run. And I think that's key. What you said about sales management is letting them know that just make some contact, build momentum.
Yep.
That's the analogy, right?
Yep. Agreed. 100% agree.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your background. Have you always been in sales? What got you into sales? What was that spark,
Well, it's actually kind of a funny story. No, I haven't always been in sales. So I have my undergraduate in engineering, and then I do have my MBA. And out of my undergrad, I actually went to work for a company in manufacturing. And I was in their manufacturing space and supply chain for 8 years. And that's where I got my MBA. And I was doing lots of sourcing business cases, manufacturing, best place to build stuff, best costs, suppliers and things like that. And I never, ever saw myself as a sales guy, ever. But in that first role out of college, I started working with the sales team because we had some customers asking for some specific requirements, some customization of our product. And it kind of fell to me in the manufacturing space to kind of figure out, okay, how do we do what this customer is asking for? Really, how do we solve this customer's problem?
Sure.
And once I started doing that, I realized, wow, I really like working with customers. I really like solving customer problems. And I started to realize that sales most of the time is not your prototypical, and I hate to pick on this profession, but not your prototypical used car sales guy, right? Which again, it's a very honest profession, car sales, but that
we hear it all the time.
Everybody uses. Oh yeah. And it wasn't about trying to sell somebody something they didn't need. It was about solving a problem. Customers saying, I have a problem, or I need help here. What do you have that can help me? And I really enjoyed that. And I really love the interaction with the customer, and being an engineer, solving a problem is always great. Plus being a competitive guy, you kind of got that win, that satisfaction. Hey, I solved the problem. They went with us. We got the order. Wow, this is really cool. At that current company, I didn't have a path to get into sales, and was actually living in Minnesota, wanted to get back to Iowa, where my wife and I are from.
Yep.
So I started looking around, and there was this role open. I'd never been a sales guy before, and that was the hardest part. And I thought, well, I'll apply. Worst they can do is say no. And the gentleman who hired me at the time made the joke. He's like, well, you're the only guy I can find who actually wants to move to Iowa, so I guess I'll have to hire you.
Yep. There you go.
So it's kind of on a desire to move to Iowa, and I still give my original boss credit for taking a chance on a guy with zero sales experience. And so then I moved into an engineering sales role, technical sales role, and it was in Iowa, so it was really heavy with all the agricultural manufacturers around here. I was OEM. I did more than ag, but a large majority of my territory was with agricultural customers, and it just sucked me in. And 18 years later, here I am, still in sales, still love sales across the board, but I got a special place in my heart for all of my ag customers. And my father-in-law is a big farmer. I grew up in a farming community, so it's been fun, and it's just hooked me. And is every day great? Nope. But as long as as long as the good days outnumber the bad days, then I consider that good. And in sales, you're solving problems. If there aren't problems to solve, you probably don't have a job. So that's what's kept me around.
I love that. And I think I also love you said you were a competitive guy. What makes you, have you always been competitive?
Yes. Yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
I have. You can ask some of my college buddies. They've got some pretty good golf stories when the golf game wasn't going my way. Sometimes it didn't always end up real well. And sometimes maybe I had to replace a club or two because I always want to win. And I think a lot of us do, especially those of us in sales. It's just that competitive nature. And, I alluded to it earlier. I always look for that trait in my salespeople when I'm in the interview process and try to vet that out. That desire to win, that competitiveness, that's not something I can really train somebody to be. You're either competitive or you're not. And that's fine. I mean, if you're not a competitive person, that's great.
But yeah, it doesn't mean you're going to be awful, but you got to kind of look for those key advantages. And similar to my career, the path for me was definitely athletics. And I knew I was competitive when I first stepped on, I think it was a youth soccer field. I don't typically talk all that positive about soccer, but sorry, everybody. But I played it when I was like 7 years old. And I remember like, man, I want to score every goal. I want to steal the ball every time. And it's vivid in my mind. And then that carried on through baseball, football, basketball, my early years, and then all throughout high school. And it's one of those things that sticks with you, and you say to yourself, why am I built like this? And why do I get upset on the golf course? Why do I get mad when somebody beats me on a PlayStation game? Why do I not let my 14-year-old son beat me in a game of pig? But it's just, It's wired in you, man. It's that competitive fire that I think a lot of ex-athletes probably feel. Not that it's the formula to be perfect in the perfect salesperson, but I think it definitely helps. Was that you? Yeah.
Oh, for sure. I think 2/3 of my sales team has their resume listed something about something competitive, right? It doesn't always has to be athletics, but something about being a competitive person, leading a team, captain of a team. I mean, that could be the science team. It could be the math team. It could be the chess club, whatever. But I like that when they demonstrate that they were part of a competitive team in a competitive environment. I always ask questions about that. And as long as I see that desire to win, that's what I want to see, because that's what's going to drive us. I mean, one of the things that I say in every interview, this is not a Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 job. And that's good and bad, right? It has pros and cons to it. But that drive to win, that competitive nature is what's going to make you leave on a Sunday night to go see a customer Monday morning, work through a proposal at 8 p.m. on a Wednesday night. It's going to happen. It will happen. And if you don't have that drive to win, you're not going to want to do that. But if you're solely focused on that win, you're not going to care that it's a Sunday night or Wednesday night or whatever, because you're focused on gaining that.
Yeah, I think the balance there is there's the competitive drive, which I think is obviously very helpful. We just talked about that. But then there's this willingness, this openness that we all have to be able to talk to people, which sometimes is very, very intimidating to some. It's like, wait a minute, I have to go introduce myself to a stranger. I mean, I'll use the story of my son again. Him and his buddies are trying to start a lawn mowing business this summer. So they're out, handed flyers out to random strangers. He's got one friend that's always been sort of a very outgoing kid around us, but for some reason he shelled up handing these flyers out. And it's one of those things that's awkward for a lot of people. So it's that sort of, I don't know, that mentality that's like, you know what, I don't care. I'm going to go talk to some random person and hand out a flyer for my mowing business that may or not be successful.
Yeah, well, and it's not only I have to go introduce myself to a stranger, I have to get a stranger interested and willing to talk to me as another stranger. So, I mean, it's twofold. I got to get the courage to go do that. And then I got to be interesting enough to get him to reciprocate.
I mean, and then you got to get him to buy a product, not necessarily on the spot. It depends on the products that we're all selling, but some sales cycles are much longer than others, but there's that aspect. And then there's that organizational aspect. I think that a lot of salespeople overlook because it's go, go, go. Everybody talks about the grind these days. It's grinding, and it's the stay until 8 o'clock at night and waking up early on a Saturday morning and planning something. But if you have a strategy built in your head, and we'll talk about strategy later. I know you and I both kind of hate that word, but if you have a plan, man, stick with it. And if the plan was when you were a kid that I'm going to hit 100 free throws before I go in that night, then stick with it, man. And if it takes you 6 hours, stick with it. If it takes you 6 minutes, fine. You're getting better. But talk about that kind of preparation behind the sales strategy to you.
Oh, I mean, it's so critical. And it's not, I mean, you got to have a good plan. You got to know, hey, what are my goals going in here? what is the plan of attack? And again, attack, maybe not the rest word, but what does the customer need? What are we really going to focus on? Showcasing how we can fill that need, solve that problem, whatever. And then a big piece of that planning too is just, we call it scenario planning, right? We're going to present this. They could say this, they could have 4 or 5 different reactions, and how are we going to react depending upon which one they do. And I've had some team members in the past say, wow, this seems like overkill. And I said, it's not, because then you'll always be prepared. You'll always know, you always follow your plan, right? You're going to have 5, if it's just a whole matrix, right? If they say this, then we go here, and then they're going to say this, and then go here, and they say this, we're going to go here. And at the end of the day, you got 25 different responses, and you're only going to use 3. But that's fine, because that meeting is going to go smooth. You're going to come in prepared. You're going to answer the customer's questions on the spot and be able to respond to whatever question or inquiry or comment or retort that they have. And you're going to get it all done in that meeting. Otherwise, if you're not prepared, they're going to ask a question, or they're going to bring something up that you're not prepared for. Then you got to go back and research. Then you got to try to get another meeting scheduled, which we all know is difficult. I mean, if you don't plan, you are setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah. And I always say, like, folks earn their spot on my calendar, especially these days when I've kind of gone into business on my own. But I've also earned their time on their calendar. So, man, you might as well optimize that. And I think you're right. It comes with that preparation and saying, hey, these guys have given me an hour on a calendar, or these gals or these people or whomever. I've earned that right, and they've earned the opportunity to earn it on my spot. Let's be prepared. Let's go into it knowing our stuff, because we've all been on those early sales calls in our careers where like, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. I don't know how this is going to go. And it goes exactly how you think it's going to go. Terribly. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I haven't put myself on the reverse side to your comment about, I've earned your time, you've earned my time. If somebody schedules a meeting with me, so even if it's an internal meeting, and they schedule for an hour and they come, and 10 minutes in, we got a bunch of questions and we don't have it figured out. We say, okay, hey, we got to reconvene. I get kind of genuinely upset. I'm like, guys, we weren't ready for this. You blocked an entire hour out of my calendar, my day, that nobody else could block. And we only used 10 minutes because we didn't come into this. I get frustrated as the internal customer, right? So my customers, external customers, are going to be the same, if not worse, because it's not even the same.
Yeah. Company. And we live in a world of meetings, it seems like today. I don't know when that kind of transformational shift happened. Maybe it was a COVID thing, because we just got so used to, scheduling things.
I think it made it worse.
I think it made it worse.
Sure, yeah.
There's all sorts of processes out there, or kind of, what do you want to call it? Process is the only thing that's coming to my mind. Like EOS is one of them, like implementation systems that say, we're going to try to make your life easier by having super efficient meetings once a week. When the reality of it is, it's like, oh my gosh, it seems like we have meeting after meeting after meeting. And to your point, let's make these meetings constructive. Give some folks some tips on kind of your ways to make a meeting constructive. Are you I want firm next steps guy? I want a firm yes, a firm no. What is a productive meeting look like to you?
I mean, a productive meeting for me is going into it. We all know what we're going to talk. I mean, I can't tell you how many meetings I get that there's just literally nothing except a title. You go into it, not even sure what we're going to talk about. So everybody knows what we're going to talk about. There's some topic of agenda points. There's typically a list of who's bringing what ahead, or who's preparing what information. And then ultimately, what's the goal of the meeting? At the end of the day, what's the goal? Like, do we want to end this with next steps and actions? Do we want to end this with a decision point on how to move forward? Or is this just an informational meeting? And that's fine too. Hey, we want to get everybody informed. This transpired, this information came out, and this is just so everybody is aware of what happened. Oh, that's fine too. But it's got to be very clear what the intent and the purpose of the meeting is, what the goal of the meeting is. And when that is stated, I'm almost always the first one at the end of the meeting. Say, okay, we got 5 minutes left. We're going to stop the conversation. Here was the original goal of the meeting. Did we accomplish them? And what are the next steps? Is there something coming out of it? I always try to do that at the end, versus the typical talk right up until the meeting time. And then everybody's like, oh crap, I got to go join another meeting, and you drop off and you don't ever have that summer.
Right. And the other thing besides meetings, we'll get off this in a second, but you and I have a meeting about, I don't know, you're my manager, and you're asking, hey Joe, noticed on the CRM that you had, 3 opportunities that you didn't follow up with this week. Go ahead and talk to me about those.
Yeah.
We talk about them. Might be a valid reason. Meeting ends, and then a couple hours later, you come up to me and said, hey, I noticed that you didn't have 3 opportunities that you talk about. Yeah, I'm like, Brian, I just talked to you about this. I can't tell you how many times, especially now in a CRM based world, where that's supposed to be the communication method between sales and really every other department. And there's a lot of back talk on a CRM where it's like, it's all there. That information is there if you utilize it. But a meeting to talk about the same meeting we just had, to plan another meeting we just had, is that a world you live in or no?
Oh, it is, but I do my best to put a stop to it, right? I mean, and you, as leaders, as sales managers, we need to recognize that, because a lot of people are in the day to day, and they're just in operational mode, and I don't really fault them for that, right? Because it's difficult to kind of to lift your head up and look at the 30,000 foot view and realize, hey, we're having a meeting about a meeting, and what's going on, and that is up to us. That is our job and our responsibility to come in and say, hey, you have 4 meetings scheduled, or we've already had 4 meetings scheduled, and then guide that person to clear goals, expectations of the meeting. Hey, how do we get this done in one meeting? How do we have one meeting, talk about it, make a decision, and move forward? And I don't, like I said, I don't blame the person, because you get blinders on, you get sucked in. We all do it. But when you go to them and have that conversation, I've had great success where that person kind of has that epiphany. Oh yeah, okay, if we do this and this and this, and everybody comes with this ahead of time, I think we can do this in one meeting. And I've had a lot of success. Just talk to somebody. And it's not an email. I don't ever do it in email. I don't do it in messages. I either pick up the phone or I go walk to the person's desk and talk to them face to face. That is the biggest key. So you want to talk about meetings on meetings on meetings. We got email, and messaging, and you start to lose tone and context and interaction. When did we stop picking up the phone? And
I know, man.
When did we stop walking over to their desk and talking to them in person? I mean, I love Teams and I love this video interaction. This is at least a lot better than email and messaging. But I mean, we've lost that personal touch.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's getting better or not. I'm not sure where I ride on the fence of that. But that's a good kind of a segue into the technology behind sales today. I think one of them to really talk about, and it's relatively new within the last, maybe 5 years, is this initiative of CRMs. Are you guys utilize a CRM at the company you work with? Or? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yep. We do, for sure. There's a number of them out there.
No, I hear you.
We use one of the big names.
Yep. Everybody knows the big names, and I think they're very user friendly. And I think some salespeople think of them as, oh, big brother's watching me, and the reality of it is a good CRM is supposed to make your life easier as a salesperson and become more organized and be more prepared and be able to make those 100 free throws in less than 6 hours, But there are some negatives to them as well. I mean, talk about your love-hate relationship with the CRM that you use.
So just to prepare you, I will give you the brief answer. We could do an entire episode on CRM. So we implemented our first CRM 10, 12
was that
years
long
ago.
Okay.
And I was more at a base level territory manager, and I hated it, and it was terrible. The tool itself wasn't terrible. The way we set it up and the way we were utilizing it was terrible. And that was on us, not on the CRM. And it was, why am I putting this in here? Nobody uses it. It's convoluted. Right? You're asking me to enter numbers in a way that they don't make sense. Here's my spreadsheet. My spreadsheet makes sense. The CRM doesn't. And we struggle with that a long, long, long time. And when I came into my first VP role in 2020, I said, enough. I know, I took a little break from my current company, went to another company, saw how they used a CRM. They were using it very well. They had pipelines of opportunities, tracking probabilities. I could go in that thing and if somebody wanted to say, hey, Brian, what are your top 10 opportunities? I say, give me 20 seconds and I'll pull it up. What's your total opportunity pipeline? What's your expectation based on probable wins? where are we all at? And it was an epiphany for me as a sales leader. And so when I came back, that's what I said. I said, hey, we have this CRM tool. It can be good. We are not using it the right way. And we had a small workshop of 4 to 5 people, and we laid out, what do we want from the CRM? Forget about all of the pre-canned processes and setups and everything that we have. What is it we want from it? We want the sales pipeline, probability of wins. We wanted to track customer interactions. So by account and by person, so we can start tracking, hey, how often are we talking to who, and where are we spending our time, where are we spending our resources? And we laid out all these things that we wanted. And then we went to the internal team who was in charge of setting up and maintaining CRM and said, this is what we want. And they kind of were like, well, wait a second, this isn't what we do today. And we said, I don't care. We're going to change everything we have to do
Exactly
this. And this is what we want. And we spent about 6 months completely redoing it from an IT standpoint, building it way stuff above my head. I don't understand all the software stuff. And we created dashboards by salesperson, by account. And sure. It was great. And now you can pull it up by salesperson, by account, by territory, by region, and get all of this great data, real data on opportunities and accounts and sales and orders and probabilities and everything. But then we got all that in there.
Sure.
Great. This is what we want. We rolled it out. But then the other key was, okay, it's only as good as the data that's being put in. I hope I can say this on your podcast, but shit in means shit out.
You could say it, fire away.
We had to make sure that the sales team was keeping this up to date. Now we kind of get back to your original point about, Big Brother's watching us. Why am I putting this in there? And so we had a big meeting with the sales team, and I explained it this way. I said, guys, this is not Big Brother watching you, but there's 40 of you, and I can't talk to every single one of you every day about every single account and every opportunity. What you're putting in here, you up here, this sales, the CRM is not for you.
Exactly.
It's for me. It's for me and every other manager internally to know what's going on. So I don't have to call you every hour of every day asking you questions, that it's in there. And I said, so as you document this and this is in there, I mean, there's the benefits for you to go back. Hey, when was the last time I talked to Joe? When was the last time I talked to Bob? When was the last update I had on this project? Because we all have so much going on. I encourage them all to use it that way for themselves, but really focus that it's really for us and for management and a communication tool. And I said, this is your brag board. This is you telling me the great stuff you're doing. And if I go on here and I say, wow, look at all these opportunities. Oh, he's got really good wins. Oh, we had a win here. And man, his quote hit rate is really good. You look awesome to me. If I go in there and I don't see an update in the last 3 months, what have you been doing? This is the way, this is your brag board. That's how I put it to them. So that got the data going in. And we actually got to a point where we're doing a really good job of that. We do monthly reviews, which always prompts the guys to make sure their data's up to date as well.
Okay.
Then the third part of it is, okay, we got it set up how we wanted it. We're ensuring that the sales team is putting good data in there. Then the final piece is, okay, management, we have to use it. We actually have to take that data. I said I'm not going to call and harass these sales guys all the time about asking them questions. So if I call them, ask them a question, and that answer's in our CRM tool, shame on me. And I said that myself and all my sales directors, and I even said that to the other, ops and operations managers internally. I said, don't ever ask any of my sales guys a question before checking the CRM tool. And we had a rough go of it. The first couple of months, people were asking questions, and I told the entire sales team, I said, if you get asked a question and the answer is in our CRM tool, your response is, please go check CRM tool. Put me on copy. I will support you. And we went through 3 months of a lot of those responses, but now everybody knows. And you've got to force that mindset, that culture end to end. It needs to do what you want. We need to keep the updated data, and then we need to use it internally as we intend.
Yeah. And really a CRM isn't, I mean, I love that you said brag board. We should just change the name to CRMs to brag boards, by the way.
Yeah. That's how I refer to it.
I love that. It's a good way to put it. But to your point, we shouldn't also have, every other day meeting about the CRM. The information's there, managers. The information's there, vice presidents. The information's there, CEOs. You just got to look at it, because that's we've got to practice what we preach. If we say, hey, this is a tool for us to make sure we're communicating properly, developing trends, seeing maybe some things that are out there that we can't see today, but when we compile all this data, we can see it, and together we can formulate a new strategy, if you will. And
Yep.
if you're
Yep.
spending the time to put this information in the CRM, I should at least spend the time to review it and see it,
Correct.
Otherwise, you're right. It's shit in, shit out, or shit out after shit in. And that's not the way these things are supposed to go. So real quick, we're running out a little bit short of time. We should record another one of these, by the way. I love what we're talking about. I could talk about this stuff for hours, man. I love it.
I could too.
Talk to me about how you and your team are utilizing AI in sales.
Oh,
I know this is also about another hour-long conversation, but maybe some quick tips. Are you is it helping you? Do you think it's going to hurt you? Is it going to take over your job someday? It's scary, but it's also super exciting to live in the time we're living, in my opinion.
I mean, I'll address that last one there real quick. If you're afraid of AI taking over your job, you should reassess the value you're bringing to your company.
Amen.
So
it can make your job. It can make you and your job like 10x. I mean, it's amazing what it can do if you just utilize it properly. But anyway, I don't want to interrupt you. Keep going.
So I mean, my gut says I want to say we're behind the curve on how to utilize AI, but I hesitate to say that because I don't think everybody's using AI like they claim. I think everybody is still trying to figure this out. What do we use it for? There's always, it's just almost like a person. There's still a certain trust level that has to be built up. So we are cautiously using it to try to do some data analysis. Again, we're kind of an engineering company on the precision components we make. We're spreadsheet geeks. Right. We do Excels all day long and pivot tables and data analysis. And we're starting to realize, hey, AI can do a lot of this real quick. Well, we're starting to realize that when we start to look at annual reports and quarterly results, and we've got a whole team of people who spend all day reading through the annual reports and quarterly results of customers and competitors and market data, and then trying to put it together. And what does it all mean? AI can do that for you real quick, and it's been pretty impressive. We were real skeptical, but when you start to dump it in and say, hey, I want you to compare this company and this company and this company, or interpret this market data for these products that I make, it's pretty amazing. It's
unreal. It really is.
The business case that you get back.
Yeah.
From
and I envision a future where I think relationships are always still going to matter, especially in long-term, major buying decisions, not $10, $15 lawn mowing services, but $10, $15 million contracts. A relationship's going to matter. There's going to have to be some personnel behind that. But I imagine a world where going into a sales meeting that is recorded and then spitting that information into an AI would eliminate the need for any sort of CRM because you don't have to enter data. It's all there. And then it formulates trends and reports and analytics that will blow our freaking minds someday. But you've got to embrace it. And right now, if you walk into a meeting with somebody and say, hey, you mind if I record this? They're going to be like, dude, hang on a sec. What do you mean record this? Some are getting on the bandwagon, but some aren't, man. But listen, Brian, I hate to do this. We're gonna have to record part 2, maybe 3, 4, and 5 of this. You're gonna be a reoccurring guest.
No problem.
This is the first time I've had somebody just shooting the shit about sales, man. The things that we love, right?
Well, that's what sales guys do, shoot the shit, right?
You're a heck of a good guy. I appreciate you doing this. I know you took time out of your day, and if you're willing and able, let's record a part 2 real soon so we can keep talking about, because there's so many things that we could help, and I think this is beneficial to the audience just to help give them some ideas, some approaches, and what we're all talking about and dealing with,
Yeah, we'll have to do a part 2, and then we'll have to go back and have AI analyze it all, and then we'll go down all the different rabbit holes. Like I said, we could probably do an hour on CRM. We could do an hour on confident sales team. We could do an hour on meeting planning. It's we're not smarter than anybody else. We just experienced some stuff, and we're willing to talk about it. So
well, and what I like about it ultimately is it's the power of people, and so this is my anti-AI. The power of people brought you and I together. The power of a bond and a friendship between Mr. Jason Nugent and I, and Mr. Jason Nugent and you, brought us together. And I think that is maybe the message, is that there's such power in those type of relationships, and they last forever, man. They last a lifetime.
100%.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Brian Kreifels, we will have you back, I promise. And can't thank you enough for joining me, man. Thank you. Hey, folks, thanks for tuning into the Germinate Podcast. If you found value in today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with others in the industry. And join me next time as we continue to explore the innovations and strategies shaping the future of agriculture and business. Until then, keep growing, keep innovating, and keep germinating your success.